Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today we have a returning visitor, Josh Kuerston from Chico, California. He is CEO of the Nurtured Heart Institute and also a lot of other things. Today we're going to have a little more of a free flow conversation just about the topics that we're both passionate about, Nurtured Heart, pretty much. So I actually have a question for you, Josh. We were talking a little bit about your journey into Nurtured Heart, how you found it and then pursued it and then continued pursuing it, and how the work informs the work. It keeps bringing new levels and new layers. And my question to you is as you've gone through this journey, what would you say was the most surprising revelation that you found in this work?
The surprising revelation. Well, what comes up when I think of that? I guess the thing that's most interesting as a surprise is that there is not a moment that this doesn't apply. I have yet to find a space in any of my days, in any moments of my days, in any parts of any moments of my days, that this does not apply. That's surprising to me. Even the funniest thing is, even when I'm so frustrated, fed up, sad, low energy, whatever it is, that I'm like, forget Howie and his nurtured heart approach. It still applies, because then it's like I can see that I'm not ready to dive in as this perfect practitioner, and I just need to give myself time, and I appreciate the self-care and willingness to be authentic. Dang it, I just did nurtured heart approach. Look at me seeing my greatness, even when I didn't want to. So it just cracks me up. I guess that's probably the most surprising. Here's another way to say it. It's almost like I stopped blocking myself from what I was already doing. Like nurture heart approach, it's almost like, well, it's already there. You're not doing anything. It's already happening, and you're just becoming conscious of what's happening. Right? And so it's almost more relaxing now to lean back into it. There's always some narration in my head about what's going on in my life, and I'm always creating a story around it, and I'm always adding to my portfolio of who I am based on how I see myself in that story. And it's like, okay, well, why was I walking through my life beating myself up when there was just as much success happening, and I wasn't beating myself up around success? That's really interesting, So I don't know. It's kind of a funny way to think about it, is much more relaxed about it now. I have kind of leaned into that space of not trying to do the nurtured heart approach, but trying to eliminate the barriers that I put in my own way to do the nurtured heart approach.
So many directions I can go in, but mostly I am so happy right now. It's so exciting. It's so free. It's so exciting that we could just be us, that I could be me and you could be you and they can be they, and it's okay and it's enough, and it's not only enough, it's gorgeous, and we are gorgeous, and we are so great, and we are so beautiful, and everybody is, and I just don't even need you to prove it because I know it already. So just I'm not even gonna, it's just delicious. So yay. Thanks for sharing this space with me today and making me so happy. I actually remembered what it was that was bugging me at the end of the last recording that I knew I wanted to look into.
What is it?
Somebody will be, we'll be coaching together, and maybe we'll be doing some of the inner wealth breathing or whatever it is to try and find, what's the truth inside? What does their heart know? And maybe we find an answer. Maybe we find a greatness. Maybe we find a commitment. Maybe we find something there, and we have some clarity. And then I say, and in this new moment, in this new moment, what's the reality? Maybe we walk through the inner wealth coaching with the S. What do I see, hear, sense, whatever I'm asking them. And they admit well, I feel really yucky, or I feel a lot of resistance, or I feel like it's all a lie and it's not true, and I'm not this greatness, or whatever, And it's almost like
Yep.
this shy admitting, or this like, I'm not a good student, I'm not a good nurtured heart person, like the coaching didn't work, like I'm sorry, but like what you just did, like I still don't feel great. I still don't feel like I have the answers. And it's like, I'm like, thank God you were honest. Thank God you said what's actually going on inside of you, because there is no you besides for the you that's here. There is no way in if we don't go in through the front door. Like, this is what's here. This is what's here. And yay for here. Like, you are honest. You are connecting with your true self because you're being true about what's going on inside yourself. And with that connection, now we can be honest about bringing ourselves forward into where we want to go, or what's next. But it's like the greatness, I think that's what it was. I think you had said something about the greatness of something that didn't seem like greatness, but the
Yeah.
greatness of everything. It's like, how we had this morning, I have group coaching once a week. Oh, by the way, audience, I have group coaching, not once a week, twice a month. And one of the check-in today, there's always an optional prompt. So the optional prompt today was, think back to your latest moment of intensity, or what comes to mind as your latest moment of intensity in your home and your parenting. Close your eyes and in your mind's eye, look around the room and list 3 things that are going right. And one of the participants said, I didn't want to, everyone gets a turn. And she kind of waited
Right.
towards the end, and she's like, I really didn't want to go, and I really still don't want to go, because literally there is nothing. There's nothing. I don't have anything to share. It was really bad. And I was like, okay, great. So we got started. Close your eyes and look around. Like, that's the prompt, you know? She blew us all away. She blew me away. And I knew there was greatness there, but I was blown away by the greatness she found. And she was blown away by it. And her facial expression and her joy of recognizing her greatness was like so mind blowing. She was like, I didn't lose it. And I didn't shame whoever was in the story. And I found a solution in that crazy moment. And I like, just all of this, like, are you
Wow.
kidding? There's no greatness here. And like, think about it. If you are escalated, if you are triggered, if you are exhausted, if you just went through something traumatic or scary or sad, or you're in grief or pain or what, I don't care what. If you're in worry, misery, and doubt, if you're in all the wrong places, I don't care. Like, well, then I always say, like, greatness is relative. Well, like, relative to that situation, how crazy cool is it that you are doing whatever you're doing? Like, wouldn't it make more sense for you to not be doing what you're doing, not be getting help, not be reaching out, not be getting out of bed, not be feeding yourself, not be like, I mean, the worse off you sound, the worse off the intensity, the more crazy cool you are. Like, seriously, are you kidding me? And it's just a total shift. And it's just so true. Once it's true, you can't unsee it once you see it. And it's so obvious. Sometimes I even feel like I don't have any reel to make or any content to create, because like, I don't know anything that anyone else doesn't know. Like, it's just so, it becomes so the way that we see. It's just, you can't unsee it. And it's so cool. And just a
It's
shout
very
out
productive.
to neuroplasticity and rewiring of the brain. It
Totally.
absolutely is fact. I
Thanks,
don't know
Brad.
that because I went to college and learned that. I know that because my brain doesn't do the things it used to do. And I'm not controlling it.
Yeah.
It's happening on its own. I see things totally differently, and it's so obvious to me. And that is, yes, it was hard work, but it is absolutely possible. So now that this interview
Yeah.
is supposed to be about you and not about me.
No, I like what you said, especially that like going in the front door thing. Like that's one of the things I love most about the approach is I don't need any person or anything to be different than it is in the moment, because that's the starting point, which is cool. Like, I don't have to buy this program and do all this prep in order to make it work. And then I have to have a certain variables in place. Otherwise it won't work. And, it's not that. Like, in fact, that's the opposite of what nurture heart approach is, right? Nurture heart approach is literally the circumstance is there as the teacher. And the circumstance is the way into the truth of the moment. And everyone gets to have their own subjective view of that moment. And that's the way into being able to translate the moment as a reflection of inner wealth or greatness. So like I always think about it, like, what is this moment illustrating about who you are? You know, I'm coaching someone who was talking about just like some intensity that came up around parenting, and he didn't feel as successful as he wanted to. And the cool part about that is like I could see what he was saying as a reflection of his intention to be protective of his kids, and how great it is to have emotions rise up because it represents the greatness of being a protector for your children. It doesn't mean the way it was handled is the way you should handle it from now on. It means that moment is an opportunity to look into that picture and go, there's something to see there, right? And I like that we can do that for kids that are intense, because they might be unable to interpret their own experiences in a way that says, hey, there is this part that was really challenging and made you sad or mad or whatever. And inside of that reality, there's also this piece that says, hey, let me tell you about who you are. That represents something about who you are. Like, you're not a pushover. You're a total advocate for your own needs. You're unwilling to have people cross your lines and be okay with it. You know, like there's so many things I could say, and we could still talk about, you know, ways to do that that are more productive in the middle of going, P.S., don't miss all the awesome things that are being shown about you right now. So I'm fascinated by that piece. I think I'm getting more, my dials of sensitivity are getting more attuned to, like, there's always something being shown to us. That's like my new game right now is, can I see what's being shown to me in all the moments? What's being shown to me about me and what's being shown to me about the other person? Can I get that good at it?
Yeah. There's so much opportunity. There's so many gifts in every that we're being given if we want. It's kind of like take it or leave it. May as well take it if I can.
Yeah. Yeah, like we're choosing right now to be on a podcast together to talk about something we enjoy and to say it in a way that might spark somebody's interest so that they can find something that might help them because we felt helped. And so like how cool is it that we're willing to like commit some of these precious moments of our lifespan to reaching out to humanity and saying, hey, in case you're looking for something that might be supportive to you, here is one option that we've both found. You know, that's like, talk about commitment. We're literally donating precious moments of lifespan to reaching out to others and saying, here's something that might help. So we're awesome in that way.
We really
We're
are.
extremely generous, extremely caring. Yeah.
Yeah. Extremely alive and engaged in this lifespan and in this life journey, and really showing up for it. And others, showing up for others.
Yeah. Which
We love
is
the
cool
whole world.
because
We care
and
about
it's so selfish, right? Doesn't it feel good to show up for others? It's like, it's totally selfish that I'm showing up for others because I enjoy that.
This is another whole conversation, but I just had this epiphany the other day that literally my ADHD drug is nurtured heart, because I had a week where my daughter was homesick and I wasn't able to do any of my, social media reels and classes and clients and everything. I canceled everything. And then the day she went to school, I responded to a question and I voice noted someone and I posted on my chat and I posted on Facebook and I this and I that. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm all set. Like, I'm back. I was like losing focus and I was feeling lethargic. And then I just was on nurtured heart drug for a minute. And I was like, I'm good. Like, I was like, wow, I found myself a non-medical drug. Like, this is what it is. Instead of taking Ritalin, I've got nurtured heart. Like, what a healthy and helpful drug. It helps me. It helps my kids. It helps other people. It's like the best of all worlds. Anyway,
That's
that's
awesome.
totally off topic, but I will
Your
say that
book is your medication.
I am the greatness of of ADHD in all of my moments. So I'll laugh at myself because of how natural this has become, and it's so cool to like be objective to myself. But like my kid
Mhm.
will do something like that, it deserves a reset, and like okay, I don't know, like we have this big like birthing ball or like exercise ball, whatever you want to call it, and like he's bouncing it up into the ceiling and into the fan and into everything, and it's gonna like break the whole house, you know, and I'm like laughing. Well, it's not even the best example because he has so much creativity that's like beyond that, things that are totally not okay, but are so super cool that he thought of them. And I'm like, you are the most creative person in the world. And the things you think of are so out of my zone of ever like even considering. I could never have made a rule about this because I never would have thought of it because it's just so creative and also reset because that's not okay. You know, but it's like with such a smile, it's such a joy and delight in his creativity. It's like that's where stands one and stands two and stand three are three different stands and separate from each other, even though they're all not, because clarity has nothing to do with greatness and has nothing to do with negativity or positivity. It just is, and like we can still stand in your greatness. Like the fact that
Right.
I'm saying reset, or the fact that I have to make a rule, or the fact that I even have to like do a functional consequence, like meaning I'm getting you into the car and I'm buckling you in even though you don't want to, and even though you're crying I'm still going to do it, and we're going to do it because I'm going to give you this shot, I'm going to give you this medicine, whatever it is, because I just have to physically, I'm going to force you, you know, is completely not at all connected to the energy of love and awe and awesomeness I feel towards you in this moment of resistance, like you're saying. You know, you're advocating for yourself, man. You really know how to stand for what you believe in and how to stand for yourself. I mean, you're putting up a real fight. This is a real fight. You're giving me a real fight. Like I'm actually struggling to buckle you in right now. You are so good at fighting for your right of freedom, of independence and autonomy, and you do have that right, by the way, and hopefully it'll happen for you fast. You know, 18 is a few years away, but you know, we'll get there. But you weren't born to be a follower, you weren't born to have someone manage all of your little, you know, moments to moment what you're supposed to do. You were born to lead yourself, and I'm so glad because there's going to be such great things that come from that. It's just such a different way of seeing, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool to be able to see that and know when to say it, right? Like in the middle of the fight, you're not saying, look at your greatness. You're saying reset, but you're seeing the greatness. Yeah, you can reset from that place of love, right? Reset from that place of being awestruck and amazed and hold a line. And like you were saying, the cool part is like the rules you need and the boundaries you need will appear in front of you, because you could, like you said, you can't make all the boundaries. You didn't know that your son or daughter was going to be so creatively out of bounds that you needed a rule for that. It'll just happen in the moment, and then it's like a thank you, right? Like the circumstances are the teachers, right? The circumstance was, oh, that is a, like this happens to me all the time. Oh, I didn't even know that was a boundary I had. Okay, but I know it because it feels wrong. So I'm going to need a rule about that. The rule is going to help. It's going to be defined by where my yes and no is, you know? So how far over or under the line is, and I can kind of rock back and forth with what am I okay with? What am I not okay with? And when I get there, I go, there's the rule. That's the new rule. The new rule is whatever, you know? And then it's like a gift to have. I hated rules as a kid, hated them. It was all I wanted to do is break them, push it up against them. It was a way to confine me in a box. I absolutely hated them. And it's so weird how rules now represent all the ways to see success and see inner wealth and see greatness, because a rule offers like clarity around what I am and I'm not willing to engage in, and what you are and aren't willing to engage in, which gives me the language I need to say, wow, that's what this says about you, because you either are or aren't crossing the line. And if you're crossing the line, I have the language. Reset, I'm out. Like, done. You can play there all you want, but my line is here, right? And then now that there's so many rules, I have so much language about what's not going wrong that I can, pontificate on what's going right. Because now there's so many rules that have been created through life's funny circumstances.
And that's all about me. And also for the
Yep.
kid, there's so much freedom in knowing where to play. They know they can play. They know where I am. They know where to find me, and they know if they ever want me, they know where they can freely get me. And that's such a gift, to not have to guess and to not have to push and to not have to struggle with, like, well, you said, but you're not, and that kind of like guessing game that I did as a kid, like looking at adults' faces and wondering, like, is now a good time or is now not a good time? Like, what
Yeah.
what response will I get? Will they yell or will they smile? Like, I don't really know where and the line's different every day depending on when you had your coffee and and what your how much sleep you got the night before. It's a gift to everyone, to all around.
Well, and
So,
it's the only
yeah,
real consequence that you can control. It's the only one that's 100% in your control is
is
where
it
you'll
yourself?
show it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even my 2-year-old, I mean, it's amazing. She watches me. She waits for me to reset her, and then she watches me. And if I don't reset her, she actually gets upset. Like, or not, don't reset her, I'll reset her, but like if I break the reset, like, if I
Yeah, yeah,
she'll
yeah.
like, that's not what we're supposed to do. Like, I'm supposed to go under the sink and play with the dishwashing liquid, and you're supposed to turn away. You're supposed to say reset, and then I'm supposed to put it back. Like, that's what we do. Anyway,
Yeah, they
um,
just want proof. If you're going
yeah.
to say reset, they want proof that you're going to be in stand one,
Yeah.
and they're going to test to see if they
Because
can trust.
that's the only reason why they should have the self-control to reel themselves in to respect my boundaries. I mean, it's much easier to not have to worry about anyone else's boundaries, but if there's a reason to follow through, like in that video game, okay, so I will, because I can't get past this shark without flying power, so I'll go get the flying power. Fine. But if you're
Right?
going to let me swim past that shark without flying power, I'm going to do that.
And you're literally teaching co-regulation. And people say co-regulation. Well, how? Well, that's how. And then you want to talk about like how this slid right into the intro for the book that I wrote. It's neurology, right? So it is like when you're regulated, that's when all of the thinking brain is online and people and kids can hear what the rules are and all that stuff. Well, that's stand two. I mean, it is when to give the lectures and teach the rules and do all that stuff is when their brain is open to hear it, when they can process it and all that stuff. And then you talk about that reset and then not leaning in with showing up with your relationship and interaction. Well, you're teaching them regulation because once their neurochemistry changes, they can't function around like making choices and regulating emotions and having impulse control and all that stuff anyway. So all we do is make it worse if we try to get closer and talk. And then the funny part for me that's always I thought has always been hilarious is if you're trying to get a kid to regulate by yelling at them, what kind of regulation are you teaching? You're teaching them dysregulation, not regulation, right? So it only makes sense to do a reset and to emotionally unplug as much as possible, right? I think of it more as like a dimmer switch than a plug unplug. And you just reduce your interaction and relationship quality as much as possible and get what you need to get done. Like you talked about belting your kid into a car who doesn't want to get belted in. Well, I can do that highly energetically connected and make things worse. Or I can do it in a matter of fact way that's reset, you're doing this and I'm not available. I'm just buckling you in and we're leaving. Right. And that's the most comforting way for a dysregulated brain to deal with that situation is as little sensory stimulus as possible. Very matter of fact, very clear black and white choices. You're not asking them to negotiate. You're not telling them that what you do now matters later. You're not none of that because none of that matters right now. They're in crisis. They can't function. During escalation and crisis, that brain's offline anyway. So we just make our problems worse accidentally by trying to help, but we don't understand how to help. We try to help the wrong way. So it's pretty funny that this conversation actually walked itself right into like, oh yeah, I wrote a book about that. And it's based on Dr. Bruce Perry's work in trauma informed stuff, and it's his state dependent functioning model that book is based on. It just happens to be my understanding of how to apply that happens to be enhanced by my understanding of the nurture heart approach, and the what it means to reset a kid and not engage. Like, what is that, right? So it can be defined now. It's easy. Yeah.
And it is defined in his book. So I'll put the link in the show notes down there, and you go check him out and click on the link, and you can purchase his book called
Stop Accidentally Making Things Worse.
There you go, by Josh Kuerston. And Josh, if anybody wants to just connect, find out more, learn about maybe working with you or what that could look like, where should they go? How can they find you?
I do lots of virtual services, so that's my favorite way to operate. I can do in person also. Just go to thevirtualbehaviorist.com, and there's a little like contact me page there. You could also just do Josh at thevirtualbehaviorist.com email, but whatever. You'll find me somehow. I'm around. Ask Mussi if you need to. She knows how to get a hold of me.
Yep. All righty. Well, I'll put that information into the show notes. Josh, thank you so much. This was so fun. I just feel like I went to Disneyland and Universal and Six Flags all at once. So fun. See you next time. And thank you all.